Okay, so famously, there was this guy, his name was Abraham Lincoln, and he said, a house divided against itself cannot stand. And right now, America is pretty divided, right, between two different camps, right? People who are very adamant and very clear that they're in a position where they want racism inherent in our system and police brutality to end. And then there's other people who are very comfortable perpetuating the status quo, keeping things the same, making it the same thing over and over and over again because you think it's great, right? And right now, this difference in ideas is playing out in very, very real ways, right? So I got to go into a specific incident, and this is going to tie into the First Amendment, right? Because as we're starting to look at this class, we're starting to move away from it being about a lot of different amendments, and I really kind of am focusing in a lot on the first, right? So just last week on Monday, the President of the United States gave a speech in the Rose Garden. Now, throughout this speech and through the week prior to, President Trump had been very clear that he thought that governors were not being tough enough on the protesters. He actually said that he wanted to bring the military out and use the U.S. Army, not the National Guard, but the actual army itself to suppress the protests, right? And there's actually an act like an old act in Congress that would allow him to do that. No one's ever invoked it, right? But the idea was that he thought everyone was being too weak and he was super tough, right? And so people have been protesting outside of the White House since the beginning of the protests over George Floyd's murder, right? People protest in front of the White House quite a bit, right? And what ended up happening is the president decided that he wanted to have a photo shoot. He wanted to go across the street, right, out of the White House and down about half of a block to a church called St. John's. Now, St. John's is like a historical church. It's been there for forever and a day. Lots of presidents have gone to church services there, and it has a special place in like the Washington memory, right? It's definitely a touristy kind of a spot, right? Well, in previous days, St. John's had been the victim of some looting, right? So the president wanted to show exactly how tough he was going to be. So he and William Barr, the Attorney General, the top legal authority in America, gave the order to have peaceful protesters removed physically from the space between the White House and St. John's. And they did this using tear gas, plastic shields, and seriously violent police tactics, right? I'm going to give you an assignment where I want you to actually look through some of the quotes from people who were there, but basically Trump just took the First Amendment and threw it out the window because he wanted to take this picture, right? He walked a half of a block and in doing so potentially injured thousands of peaceful protesters who were exercising their First Amendment right to speak out peaceably against the government so his daughter could pull a Bible out of her $1,500 Max Mara handbag and take this photo. This was the photo that he was willing to risk American lives for, right? He violated their safety and he violated their constitutional rights. And after you're done reading about some of the eyewitness accounts, I just want you to think about, what can we do to stop a president like this? There's a bit of an answer. The ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, is actually suing the federal government over this, saying that what was done was wrong, right? And then I'm going to ask you to make an argument of your own. This is starting to look a little project-y for me, right? Finding out how we can use our voice to ensure that we can continue to use our voice. Because what happens if they want to stop us? What happens if they want to stop this video? And from you understanding and seeing it, what do we do then, right? Okay, good luck. I'll see you in the next assignment.